Wanted to learn what she knew about Stephen's whereabouts and what he may have told her. We didn't know, could Laura have been with him, traveling with him? Could she have played a part in this?
I wasn't even there.
Hey, Laura.
Hey.
You never took a trip down to Florida? Never helped him with anything?
I've never met the woman. I've never been to that part of Florida.
Have you ever talked to her on the phone or anything like that?
I've talked to her one time and one time only on the phone, and that was over a year and a half ago.
Based on our interviews with family, we knew that Laura had been dating Stephen even before Tricia and Stephen had been divorced. So we knew that there was the potential for some sort of animosity and some bad blood between them. We wanted to follow up and find out more about Laura.
Where you work at, Cowfish?
Yeah.
Okay. On what day? Tuesday?
I was there a double Sunday, Monday night, Tuesday
Not
night.
this week, last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have nothing to do with this, and I only came down here to help clear Stephen's name, and now I feel kind of like a suspect.
As I watched Laura, she became defensive as the questions became more aggressive towards her.
We felt like it was important for her to take the polygraph test to help us as being a suspect in the case.
I don't think I want to do a polygraph anymore.
When Laura decided not to take the polygraph test, it raised our suspicion that she might be involved, that she was trying to hide something.
I don't know you. Not saying you're a bad woman, but it's just part of what we have to investigate to eliminate everything.
So even if there's video of me working while he was down there,
Yes.
I would love for her to be found. Like, I mean, we both would love for her to be found. This is a nightmare on both of our accounts.
Is there anything you'd like to add as far as why to try to clear him totally?
You asked me why he wouldn't do it?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, he enjoys being a part-time dad. He enjoys having to just Skype her, 15, 20 minutes a day, going down there when he can.
Right.
Why would he get rid of his ex when now he has to take care of her full-time?
If Stephen did actually commit this crime, he would have to raise Faith. And according to Laura, Stephen didn't want to raise Faith. So we had to question even further, did Stephen have anything to do with this?
He's always been more than willing to try to get her checks and the money and make sure Faith is okay. And
He never complained about that?
Complained about what?
About having to pay child support?
No, he never complained.
Okay.
As far as Laura goes, our investigators would have to look into her alibi and try and verify what she said was true.
While Laura was being interviewed in one room, we had other detectives trying to convince Stephen in the next room over to take a polygraph. This was his chance to clear his name.
Hey, Stephen, we brought up our polygrapher, or polygraph guy. We want to take one for us today?
I actually don't know.
Stephen's initial reaction is he's very nervous.
I'll let them search my home, my car, whatever.
Okay. So you won't take one then?
I don't like the idea of polygraphs.
Why?
They scare the hell out of me.
Do they really?
Yeah.
He's very concerned about taking the test. He thinks that he's going to look guilty no matter what he says. So the fact that he's nervous does make us concerned that maybe there's more to it, but we don't want to hang everything on that one fact.
No, it just terrifies me. I'm sorry.
All right, let them know.
Taking a polygraph can rule a person in or it can rule a person out. However, every suspect declined to take the polygraph.
Every lead we had to follow up on was just a dead end. It got frustrating.
I wanted to talk to him one-on-one. When I sat in the back seat with Mr. Williams on the way back to his house, I explained to him that he is a subject of great interest in this case. Tomorrow, he's going to have to explain to this national media who's going to be on the front steps of the Air Force Base and explain why he refused to take the polygraph test. I told him that we are here trying to clear his name so that we could concentrate on who actually killed his ex-wife. At that point, he decided that he would do it.
That's what convinced Stephen Williams to come back in, because he's like, if I can beat this polygraph, they'll be done with me and they'll move on.
We really were putting a lot of pressure on getting this polygraph done.
I noticed that you're shaking. Not uncommon. Okay? What it can mean is that there's still more issues that you wish to discuss with me before we begin. This test is about to begin. Please remain still.
We needed to get some answers. We had no other leads, and we needed to try to find Tricia.
Are you involved in Tricia's disappearance?
We really were putting a lot of pressure on getting this polygraph done. We needed to get some answers. We had no other leads, and we needed to try to find Tricia.
This test is about to begin. Please remain still. Are you involved in Tricia's disappearance? No. Did you abduct her? No.
So we got the results from the polygraph, and we couldn't believe what we saw.
The results of the polygraph were ultimately inconclusive.
The polygraph operator could not tell if he was being deceitful. I was beyond frustrated. We couldn't go any further with him.
After spending all that time sending detectives up to Raleigh, we still were no closer to an answer.
So the next day, back in Florida, we had to start back up from square one, but we still had to continue on with the other leads that we're getting, other tips that we're getting.
We're not 100% positive it's just Stephen Williams. What if it's somebody else associated with the family?
With Tricia, you had contact with her. I felt compelled to speak to her.
One of the tips we had received was about a male named Douglas Purchase. We had found out that on Tricia's walks, very late at night, she had met him on the beach and he was just trying to counsel her.
Mr. Purchase had refused to take a polygraph test. That's a huge red flag.
We actually got permission from him to search both his home and his car. There was nothing found to tie him to anything with Tricia's disappearance.
You were down at the beach. There was a turtle laying eggs.
We were able to locate some cameras on the beach that night, which did verify Mr. Purchase's alibi that he was actually on the beach that night watching the sea turtles.
The cameras showed he was all by himself. Tricia Todd never met up with him that night.
So far, there has been no sign of the hospice nurse and U.S. Air Force veteran.
Anyone with information about this case is asked to contact the Martin County Sheriff's Office.
Our search efforts never stopped. Deputies and volunteers were out looking for any trace of where she might have gone.
I thought she had a good chance of being alive. I know how tough she is. Of course, as time went on, they got less and less chance. I can remember walking down Bridge Road, going into the woods as far as I could and calling her name and listening very carefully. You get to the point where you're looking for vultures and smells when you realize that she's got to be gone.
So the focus shifted now to finding her body.
During the investigation, we found out Stephen had a live-in girlfriend in North Carolina by the name of Laura.
I don't think I want to do a polygraph anymore.
And she advised me that she was working during the time Tricia disappeared. I got a call from Raleigh Police Department and they advised they went to Laura's place of work. Laura was working during the time Stephen was in Florida.
This would eliminate Laura as being part or a suspect in this investigation. When we'd rule somebody out, we'd have to look at who was left still there, standing. Stephen Williams was always left standing there. If this is our guy, we needed him to tell us about where Tricia is, and we needed him to tell us fast.
While talking to Tricia's family, we had learned some very disturbing facts about Stephen's past and his behavior.
We've been made aware of violence against their small dogs. He strangled a couple.
Stephen did?
Stephen did.
He killed their dogs?
The dogs.
cruelty towards animals speaks directly to the blackness of someone's heart. If you can injure a helpless dog or a cat, there's something seriously wrong with you.
And so that darker side of Stephen really began to cause us a lot of concern.
We also learned that Stephen Williams was arrested for domestic violence against Tricia Todd.
He was never actually charged and convicted of anything.
Just in talking to her friends and family that she had confided in, this wasn't the only time.
He beat on her. I know he would punch her in the stomach, trying to give her a miscarriage when she was pregnant. But whether she thought he would cross the line, I don't know.
I also talked with Stephen Williams' mother, Cheney Smith, and I just wanted to get some background information, mostly about if he had talked about his plans for visiting, and to see if anything was out of the ordinary.
He hated Trish. He had said that he wished Trish would disappear. I said, did you have anything to do with it? He said, no, I ain't had nothing to do with that. And I don't believe Stephen.
If your own mother thinks that you're involved, that doesn't look good. She knows him better than we do, so this was something that we were very concerned about.
This is the mother who is supposed to stand up and back her son. It's a huge red flag for us.
As a prosecutor, you hear that a suspect's mother says he did it, you say, holy crap.
We found that first hole in Stephen's story. I talked to the neighbor. Present is Detective Dulac, Detective Oliver, Sergeant Carday. The witness speaks only Thai, as a roommate here. He's gonna translate for us.
Yeah. He drove the white car away.
Stephen had left in the white car, which was Tricia's car. Stephen had never mentioned that he had left in Tricia's car for any reason. And this was the first huge break that we had. We realized that Stephen wasn't telling us the whole truth. This really makes me concerned. If he's not telling us that, is there more that may have happened that he didn't tell us? Well, we knew for a fact that Tricia's car was found at her home in the morning, and it was out of place, which was what started this entire process. We would need to find some sort of evidence. That's when we started pulling a lot of surveillance cameras from the surrounding businesses, and we see that Tricia's car had left. Now we're very concerned. Why did it leave?
In Stephen's previous statements, he had told us that Tricia never left till about 2 a.m., and yet we had her car driving up US 1 at 1 a.m.
One of the theories that we had was that Stephen was the person driving Tricia's car. If he had driven her car to leave the car at her house, he must have walked back home. Now we know what we're looking for. On 3 different cameras, we were able to find a person matching Stephen's description walking from the area of Tricia's residence north up US 1. In the shadowy background, we were able to just barely make out this same person, just those faint little legs walking back into the neighborhood where Stephen was staying at 4:30 in the morning. That's the big aha moment. When I saw that person walking in, I knew it was him. I knew that had put the entire case together. I knew that he had killed Tricia Todd.
During the investigation, my wife and I are taking care of Stephen's daughter. Initially, Stephen was saying that, maybe it'll take me about 6 months to pick up Faith, but it hadn't been about 3 weeks when all of a sudden he just dropped it on us. Hey, I'm coming to get Faith in 4 days.
Stephen had done something to my daughter. There was no way that we wanted Stephen to take the baby back to North Carolina.
We had made contact with Department of Children and Families in Florida and in North Carolina to see if there's anything that we can do to block this from happening. There was nothing that either Florida or North Carolina could do to prevent it.
Probably one of the worst case scenarios, because now We are going to have to legally allow him to come take Faith.
Everything dropped. We knew we had to change our strategy and move quicker. There was no way we were going to let him have Faith.
It forced us to maybe go into hyperdrive because there was no way we were letting him go off with that child.
On May 23rd, we flew to Raleigh. We decided that we needed to go confront Stephen Williams with this new video surveillance footage.
We faced a huge risk going in and talking to him. We had no further evidence. We had nothing else that can put him as the main suspect in this. We were afraid of denial, of not getting any further.
And the neighbor saw you leaving her car. They saw you going back and forth.
We cannot get him to ask for his attorney. That is our main focus. You just move slowly.
You recognize this area here? That's the entrance to the community, isn't it? Yeah, it's one way in, one way out.
We knew we couldn't show Stephen the actual footage that we had received because it was just grainy silhouette. You could tell it was a man, but you couldn't tell it was Stephen. We knew if we had shown Stephen, he would say, "You guys are bluffing me." We also knew that the actual images we had would have never held up in court. The strategy we had was not to show him those pictures, but was to show him the locations of where the video cameras were facing.
So we see her pulling in, 12:08.
At the time you said she came on.
Perfect. 1:20, there goes her car, coming out. All right? A couple minutes later, that same car, her car, makes the U-turn right here. Okay?
And back.
We see the car coming back in here. So literally went towards her house, came back. Why is that?
Home and then didn't go home.
I felt he's already going to be deceptive, that he's already going to change his story. Now it's my job to help him change his story.
You know them cameras get footage of the sidewalk all the way up US 1.
And people on foot also. Around 4 in the morning.
4 in the morning. I'd be asleep by then. That camera at that computer place, it's HD.
We had worked every day for weeks, and we knew we were getting closer and closer. You can literally see his chest pounding up and down, and we knew at that point, we got him. He's going to break.
Tricia Todd was missing. This young woman had disappeared into thin air.
Our investigation had gone on for almost a month now, and we've had no luck in finding where Tricia might have gone.
As we're ruling others out, the focus always shifts back to Tricia Todd's ex-husband, Stephen Williams.
He was the last person to have contact with Tricia.
We had sent out investigators looking for surveillance footage.
We actually found an individual walking at about 4:30 in the morning. We knew that no one else would have followed that path at that time of night.
Everything we had just kept coming back to Stephen. It was all circumstantial at the time, but we wanted him to think we were certain of it and to know that we were done with his lies. We were going to keep working at it. We weren't going to give up until we had her.
I did tell you that that camera at that computer place is HD.
It's you walking.
They confront him with this video evidence we have. Now, in part, that's a bluff. Because the truth of the matter is the video surveillance evidence is not HD, would not have sustained a conviction in this case. So it's nerve-wracking. This is our shot.
You can almost see his heart coming through his chest. He was breathing heavily. He was starting to sweat a little bit. So we knew it was time to come in and attack.
You got a lot going for you. You're good looking, you're young, you got your straight, and you got this crazy, crazy ex.
He's a narcissist. I felt I had to come down more to his level and him, thinking that he was a victim in all this. So the strategy I used was degrading Tricia.
She's come after you before. Did she come after you that night? Something happened. And you were just, oh, what do I do now?
No, she never came after me, nothing.
It's an overwhelming amount of evidence pointing at you. So help me continue painting this picture of you. I don't want to portray Stephen as some cold-blooded killer.
At that point, I backed out and let Sergeant Carday take over the interview, just for simple fact she could show more compassion than a male talking to another male.
Stephen, it's okay. Okay? You're so tense, you just relax. Okay?
Even touching his shoulder, lying to him, telling him it's gonna be okay. I had this hatred inside for him. It was all strategy to sympathize with him.
I just need to know where she's at, Stephen.
I don't know where she is.
Stephen, you know where she's at.
I don't. I really don't.
At that point, he knew he'd been caught, and he knew he had to give us something.
Do you remember taking her car and leaving? Yes or no?
Yes.
At that moment, it felt to me like the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. It was like, whoa, he just admitted that he wasn't telling us the truth.
I need you to work with me. I need to tell him that you were being 100% honest.